Well, staying with the energy theme in our unplugged slot, Rajen Ranchhoojee is a partner in the commercial department at Hogan Lovells, and he joins us now to talk about that. Let's just follow up on that discussion on energy there. You're from the legal perspective. We think of Eskom power stations and we think of our lights going off, but there's a big problem also around the legal tangled growth around electricity supply.
Absolutely, David. I think what we need to start looking at is the holistic framework as to how we're going to address the issue of our electricity shortage. Government has put out very good large-scale programs. What we're seeing now is a focus to much smaller scale renewable energy embedded generation, rooftop solar, houses being able to pull themselves off the grid and being able to generate electricity for their own use effectively, to alleviate some of that supply difficulty that we have on the grid at the moment.
Are there legal obstacles to us doing this? Do you have to get permission? Do you have to say to Eskom or the municipality, can I please do it? Can they say no?
The simple answer as we sit here today is yes, there are legal obstacles in the sense that one can only generate electricity for one's own use. Otherwise, one has to apply for a generation license. The difficulty with that is, in order to apply for a generation license, we're looking anywhere upwards of 12 to 18 months. The Minister of Energy herself has to sign up on any renewable energy project which is actually put back onto the grid, and that becomes impossible, particularly when we're looking at more commercial and industrial setups, which are a lot smaller than the large-scale setup. The real challenge comes in the Electricity Regulations Act, where we see the provision that you can only generate for own use. And what that means is we have got power producers who are prepared to spend the capital, put facilities up on rooftops and have suppliers and buyers purchase the electricity from them. But because of the regulatory framework that we currently sit in, that cannot be done.
Rajen, they made mention in the insert earlier about a discussion document that's been put out. What else is in that discussion document?
So the discussion document is extremely welcomed by the industry, and I think as South Africans as a whole, we can see that we're moving in the right direction. NERSA had put out the discussion document on small-scale embedded generation for renewable energy that would be able to be used on commercial rooftop areas, as well as just carports, any sort of generation that you'd be able to use on a much smaller scale. We are looking at a fast-track time period where this discussion document is hoping to be able to put regulations in place by April. And what those regulations are effectively trying to do is alleviate some of the pressure from the grid by allowing you and I to generate electricity still for our own use, up to the amount of electricity that we actually consume from the grid. So we're not actually at this point putting any electricity back onto the grid, which is a bit of a pity because we would like to see generation coming from individual users. But what we are seeing is you reducing your reliance on the grid to the extent that you are actually drawing any electricity off the grid. So we're in a net metering position where you could be energy neutral. What we'd like to see is where we could actually go positive in putting more electricity and exporting onto the grid itself.
Well, thank you so much for those thoughts and information there. That was Rajen Ranchhoojee. He's a partner in the commercial department at Hogan Lovells.